Well, because the other thing about the having children right now, we're in a very difficult time to have children for two reasons. They're living through a reset of some kind. I don't mean like the World Economic Forum's great reset, but they're certainly living through a reset. They're living through a time of increasing growth in authoritarianism and surveillance within Western liberal democracies. But they're living at a time where there's massive change in technology. It's like that. There's a TED talk we've watched. That guy, he's a teacher. He said, "Teach a kid to dance." You must have seen it. And this kid wants to dance, and he's saying, we're teaching. We don't know where we're going to be in 5 years, and we've got 5-year-olds. We don't know the world they're going to be in 20 years. What skills do we need to teach them? So with my kids, it's like when my daughter's 20 and entering the work, 22 entering the world of work, we don't know what jobs are going to be available, what types. So I think one of the most important skills is the ability to stand out and be different, to question things, not to be just someone who's able to go in a cubicle and complete a task, because we don't know what those tasks will be, and plus they'll be mind-numbingly boring.
It's hard to teach. I believe it can be taught. You have to give people freedom to take risks and not punish them when they take the risks. They have to have environments where they can flex that muscle of risk tolerance. And for me, that's one place that the classroom is. It's a place where we can say the weird, the outrageous, the dubious things as we're processing through, and to not be punished for them by peers or by a professor.
I think of a podcast like that, but we do get punished for them. But I do think it.
This is your other podcast or this one?
No, I think this is a place to question and think about things and test ideas. That's why this show isn't just a bunch of right-wing libertarians confirming why Bitcoin's amazing. And it's a place where we talk to everybody, from somebody who is a professor to somebody who is an economist to somebody who's like all different people. Let me ask you, so is Bitcoin a solution to the problem, or is Bitcoin a theory?
I want to say both, as if it's a trick question, but
It's not a trick question. What I'm getting at is, one of the questions me and Danny ask ourselves a lot is, are we wrong about Bitcoin?
I don't know the answer to that. I have a thought about the theory question. I think of Bitcoin in some ways as an anti-theory. It's more like something that bulldozes through the theories that pre-existed it. So here's a view, and you can probably think of a bunch of these. Here's just an example. Here's a view that was standard. On the one hand, we have commodity monies. These cost something to make. On the other hand, we have fiat monies, which have no intrinsic value and cost nothing to make. Commodity monies do have intrinsic value. That is, they have use value. You can burn them, eat them, they're shiny, and so on. What Bitcoin shows us is it's actually possible to combine these characteristics. Nobody's ever done that before. It's costly to produce, and it has no intrinsic value. The fact that it has no intrinsic value means that the design space is opened up in ways that it's not for commodity money. And the fact that it costs something to produce means that it's not just a shitcoin. So there's this theory or a standard way of thinking about what monies are even possible. Bitcoin isn't like a new theory about what kinds of money are possible. It's more like a bulldozer that says, you're all wrong. You need more tools to think properly about money. Here's a totally new kind of money that is kind of like fiat, kind of like gold, and kind of like neither. So I think Bitcoin can do that in a variety of other ways too. It's not a theory. It's more like something that shows us we were wrong before.
Are you more interested in the philosophy of money or the application of economics?
I know more. I'm better at philosophy because that's where my degrees and my training are in. But I'm super interested in the econ stuff, and I'm trying to learn more so that I can be a more effective teacher and researcher on that side of things. And really the intersection, that's the forefront. That's this bit, with the Venn diagram where the two meet.
Yeah.
It's so poorly understood, but so vital, I think, to understand our dynamic world. Because it's right in that intersection where so many interesting things are happening.
So I question, therefore, what does good money mean, and how do we class a successful money? And let me frame what I'm thinking is that when we recently just sat down with Stephen Lubka and we talked about fiat money, the way it distorts the markets, it distorts prices, that's absolutely true. But could we also argue that with Keynesian economics and the money printer, that extra money has sped up the advancement of society, and it has led to more innovation. I mean, we talked about venture capital firms having access to cheap capital, but perhaps that cheap capital has led to advancements in technology, which has led to advancements in development of positive drugs. I know negative drugs as well. Like, it's very obviously difficult to create a net calculation, but would a Bitcoin-based economy have slowed advancement? Would have it slowed development? And would have it changed how society would have shaped like that? Could it be a net more dangerous society because there isn't that kind of shield of protection from government in certain areas? Now, there's thousands of inputs to these, because somebody who is anti-fiat could say, well, military-industrial complex, or widening wealth gap. But somebody who positive fiat would say, or world police protection. Like, there's different ways you can look at it, and your bias will certainly influence it. But that goes around in my mind a lot. I always think it's important to question it rather than just cheerlead it.
Yeah, and I think that's what Bitcoin does in an unsettling way for many people. It raises these questions. I'd like to make a distinction between two kinds of questions about money and the best kinds of money. There are some properties that make something useful as money. Let's call these aptness properties. These are things that make it a useful medium of exchange, the primary role of money. So it's things like durability, divisibility. You're familiar with the list. There's a less studied question by monetary economists, which might be surprising, right? The people whose job it is to study money, which is not what makes something a better or worse money, better at being money, but rather what kinds of money have better or worse externalities or consequences for the rest of the world. And obviously, these are hard to foresee sometimes. The effects, the higher order effects of selecting one kind of money over another. Now, Bitcoin, you can size it up against other monies on either of these dimensions. And it might turn out that it's worse in some ways, better in some others. But I think one of the unsettling things that Bitcoin does, and this is why we're so resistant to it when we first encounter it. I don't know how many times it took you. It took me a couple of times to see it as more than anything as like funny money for libertarians, or like the speculative bet.
I try to never allow myself to fully see it.
That's wise. You should always ask this question.
Yeah.
But it's unsettling to ask that. Like, okay, wait a minute. What if we've collectively selected a money that has negative externalities? What if we're encountering them now? The grand experiment since 1971 is turning out to not be so great. This is not a totally happy thought to have.
We need a bottle of wine. I'm having a drink for this conversation. You don't have to, but I want a glass of wine.
Let's wait till we got 5 minutes left, and I'll have a glass.
This is a glass of wine conversation. All right, I'm fair. Yes.
I'm having fun so far. I hope you are.
Yeah, it's good. No, but this is the point. Like, I'm always questioning it because I worry about the negative externalities. I've decided Bitcoin, personally, outside of the podcast, I've decided on Bitcoin. I've chosen Bitcoin, right? But as a podcaster releasing content for an audience, I haven't allowed myself to get fully there. And I never allow myself to get fully there.
I think if you became a pure cheerleader, I don't think you'd be as successful.
If I didn't have Danny, I wouldn't be as successful.
I hope you don't lose that.
What, Danny?
Danny, or this kind of intellectual honesty. And I think that's one reason you and Troy connected well. It looked to me like you did.
Yeah,
Troy's an old friend.
Love Troy. He speaks very highly of you.
Oh, he had a really nice moment talking about me. Hi, Troy.
Hi, Troy.
One of the things I admire about him is his intellectual honesty, and I think you connected.
Yeah,
on that point.
But we question it a lot, don't we, Danny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you especially.
Yeah. One of the things that you have to really fight as a content creator is audience capture. It's really difficult because if there is a certain cohort or a certain group of people who have a particular set of opinions, you are rewarded for echoing those permissions, and you are punished for not for challenging, but maybe disagreeing. And that
for disrupting their expectations of
yes, that's it. Disrupting their expectations of you. You've put it perfectly. And that also can have an personal economic impact because of the risks of, one, being cancelled, 2 being ignored, 3 there's no 3. Those 2 primary ones. And that's why I think so many people get audience captured, because they get the likes, the follows, the confirmation, and they grow what their thing is. So,
There's a parallel to money. Money is this thing that we want. We strive for it. We dream of it. How often do you check the Bitcoin price? How often do you think about your portfolio? Those are behavioral manifestations of the way that money, we want it, yes, but then it comes to control us. At least that is a very real worry. And it's not just those who have a lot of it who have to worry about this. Of course, they maybe have to worry more that the things you own end up owning you, to quote Fight Club.
yeah. And Eric Weinstein was the one who made us think about that. The first time I interviewed him, it was a very challenging interview, and I did a shit job. But he said, "You're talking your book."
I remember that.
And I felt like I was trying to convince him on Bitcoin. I was like, what am I trying to do this for? I'm here to interview, not debate you. One, I'm terrible at debating. It's not my job. But so since then, I'm always questioning Bitcoin, and I never allow myself to.
Have you told him that?
Yes, I have told him that.
You should. People like it when you learn from them, and then you tell them, here's what I learned from you.
Well, no, I put out a tweet thread about exactly what I got wrong in the whole interview. And he retweeted it and said, he said something along the, what was it, Dave? Something along the lines of, "Oh, don't worry, I can be a right dick sometimes." He was good about it. We did a follow-up interview and it was magic. We got on really well. But I think you're right. There's this expectation that people have, and when you miss that expectation, it disappoints them. But that is their problem and their weakness, not mine.
It could be yours. That's up to you.
Huh.
I think of money as that way too. So Bitcoiners are used to talking about the bad effects of money, of a bad money, that is. We just listened to an interview about that very topic. We can go on about that. I think one thing that Bitcoin has done to me is to think more deeply about money, so like what money is, but also to see more clearly that money, even good money, can be dangerous.
Yes.
It can be dangerous for those who have it. The way it has a hold over our own hearts, our own desires, the way it captures us, just the way an audience might capture a content maker. And so the thing that you think you own is like, oh, I have so many followers, this is my account. There's the ownership language there. Ends up owning you, controlling you. So it does the exact opposite. Money's supposed to be a tool of freedom, but it can enslave us too.
Yeah, Krishnamurti talks about that in a slightly different way. Jiddu Krishnamurti. He talks about it. Do you know him? Indian philosopher?
I know the name, but
so he talked about you shouldn't own stuff and things. You should get away from owning stuff and things, because he talks about the person who has the big house, has the yard, has the garden, has the fence. Now that person has to think about the house and the garden and then the fence and look after that. And the more stuff you accumulate, the more distractions you have in your life from exploring truth and exploring the world and living like a fruitful life. These things own you. It's the same point. And I think you strive for money, then once you don't have money. Well, some of my happiest times, I was broke because I didn't have any money. Like I had a wage. Sorry, I had money, but not wealth. I had money, but I hadn't accumulated any stuff. Then you earn money, and then you fear losing it.
And that fear gets worse. Sitting from the outside, you might think, oh no, I should worry less and less about money the more I have of it. But in fact, the opportunity cost of stepping out of the rat race or of loss gets higher and higher. So it can have this effect that we worry more the more we have.